when they travel by air. Unreliability and a sense of dread, many have said before. I'm going to talk right now to David Lepofsky. He's a visiting research professor at Western Law, chair of the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disability Act Alliance, and an advocate for accessibility for people with disabilities in air travel. I started off by asking him about testimony he gave to the committee that oversees transport on Parliament held just a few months ago, in which he talked about that feeling of dread, going specifically into Canadian airspace.
As a blind person, I never know when I go through a Canadian airport or get on a Canadian airline whether I'm going to have my basic accommodation needs met or whether I'm in for a complete mess. And therefore I dread entering Canadian airspace. I don't experience this in other countries, and I've traveled to many other ones. But when I get here, sometimes the service is good, but there are times when you can be left for a long time on the flight where it can take what seems like an eternity to just get guided from the airplane out the front door of the airport. You can be met with airline staff who have been properly trained how to guide a blind person, and quite often I encounter ones may have been told, they say they got training, but whatever training they got, they don't know what they're doing, and I have to retrain them on the spot. You get passed like a baton from one ground assistance person to the next, sometimes as many as 3 different people on the journey from your seat on the airplane to out the front door of the airport, and sometimes you have to train each of them. There are, especially here in Toronto, you could be asked to sit in an area and wait for someone to meet you where there's no staff there. There's no one you can say, excuse me, did you folks forget me? And I've had that happen any number of times where I literally have to stand up and call out. There's no dignity in this, and just bellow out, is there someone here from Air Canada? I don't know if you folks forgot me.
And that
and sometimes they have. Now again, the people at the airlines are nice people. It's not the individuals. It's the system that's totally broken.
I want to pick up on that point, because when you mentioned that you don't have that sense of dread in other countries, what is the difference really? Is it that, I mean, you've mentioned in your testimony, for example, the passenger bill of rights in the United States specific to people with disabilities that doesn't exist here in Canada. Do you think something like that is what essentially leads to the difference?
An air passengers with disabilities bill of rights, and it's in plain, clear language, and it does not read like it was written by the airlines. In contrast, we have convoluted regulations in Ontario in Canada made by the Canada Transportation Agency, which, number one, reads like it's written by the airlines. It's so full, it's more loopholes than rules. And B, is enforced by a federal regulatory agency, the Canada Transportation Agency, which has a long track record of being way too cozy with the airlines, and therefore lacks the kind of objectivity, independence, and vigor that we need. The airlines have nothing to fear from the Canadian Transportation Agency, and when a regulatory agency is that deficient in fulfilling its mandates, the rights we may even have on paper are at risk of not materializing in practice.
And so, as the government meets with these airlines, do you have any sense of their willingness, or lack thereof, I'm not sure what your perception is, to actually give something like that teeth so that there is something to fear? Because I think your assessment of the airlines not having any fear, particularly on this issue, is one shared by a lot of Canadians with disabilities who try to travel. At least
talk is not only cheap, the talk is worthless. A summit by airlines and the federal government is a photo op created to look like they're doing something when they're not. They've done what they need to do. I appeared before a committee of the House of Commons listing detailed, concrete, easily doable recommendations 2 months ago.